Hey guys, this is the video for the eighth grade quarter two benchmark review, which you can watch while you take the test, and hopefully that will help. Okay, number one, this set of ordered pairs defines a relation, and then it has an incredibly small printed set of numbers, which I'll just copy over here. All right, so it's asking which one is not a function. So remember, if it's not a function, it has repeated inputs, which we always say is x's. And then y's don't matter. So realistically, I'm just checking through my x's, right? So my x, y. I'm looking at these, and I'm seeing here I have a 2 that goes to 0 and a 2 that goes to 5. So if I have a machine where a 2 goes in, basically it's saying a 0 comes out and a 5 comes out, which this is not a function because it can only have one. And then it says these have the same x value but different y values, and that is true. Right, so it doesn't matter if it has a negative y value. Doesn't matter if they have the same y value. Doesn't matter about negative x value. It's really just that matching repeated inputs. All right, same thing for the next one, except this time it's giving me groups of them. So for this one, my x's are 0, 1, and 1. So that seems like a problem, huh? For this one, the x's are 0, 1, and 2. For this one, the x's are 0, 1, and 2. And then for this one, the x's are 0, 1, and 2. So I just convinced myself that this is the issue, right? So again, I have a machine where a 1 goes in, and according to this, a 0 comes out and a 1 comes out. So this one is not a function. All right, number 3, which of the following equations corresponds to the graph below? So realistically, if I'm going through and graphing these different things here, I have y equals negative 3/8 x plus 3. So this one starts at positive 3. So that part matches, right? And it says it goes down 3 over 8. So down 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So hopefully you can tell that is not, right? So this goes down 3 over 8 because of the slope. You can't see the first part. So this is slope, and this is where the graph starts. So let's look at a different one then. So that was A, so A is not right. So B is y equals negative 8 over 3x plus 3. Oh, look at, I only went down 2. Miss Gray. So if you go down 2 all the way down 3, like it says, then you go over to 8, and it does hit that. So this one does work. So if I check these other ones, you can see they don't. So this one starts at 3, right? But instead of going down 3 over 8, this time it goes down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then over 3. So this one, B, would look like that. So this one is A. If I wanted to look at C, C starts at a positive 3 again, but this time instead of going down, it goes up 3 over 8. So it'd be like the opposite direction. So it's C. And then D starts at 3, but it goes up 8. So I'd have to go off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 over 3. So it'd be like this very tilted line. My pen's dying. So this is D. So the only one that works for the line that they gave us is A, because I'm starting at 3 and then going down 3 over 8. Okay, which of the following graphs is a function? So this is where you check with a vertical line test. So you're thinking about if you drew imaginary vertical lines through these graphs, is there any place you can draw a vertical line where it crosses more than once? Which hopefully, as you can see how I did this, On this, it crosses twice there and there, so it's definitely going to cross twice. So this is not a function. This one has places where it crosses twice, right? One line crosses twice, but this is not a function. If I draw a vertical line over this vertical line, it crosses everywhere. It's definitely more than once. So this is not. And then here's the one where it crosses once. So this one is. So D is my answer. All right, slope problem. So what is the equation of the line? So I don't know why this printed so small, it's irritating. Hard for you guys to see on your side. So if I'm looking through these equations, this is what they look like. So keep in mind that when there's no number on the back, like on these, it's at 0, which means the end number is where it starts, right? So if you're looking at this equation, it does start at 0. So it doesn't start at 4 and it doesn't start at 7, so it can't be B or C. And then the triangle here is going to tell me the slope. So if I'm looking for change in Y over change in X, right? Rise over run. The rise is 4 and the run is 7. So this is my slope. And so I'm looking for an equation that has 4/7 in front of X, which would be. Okay, which equation has only one solution? So 3x plus 2 equals negative 3x plus 2. Negative 7x minus 3. All right, so in order for it to have one solution, it basically just has to be two different expressions on each side of the equation. So that's a 2, not a 7. And if you look through these, if I multiply this negative sign out, it's going to turn into this, which means these two sides are the same, which means it has infinitely many solutions if they're exactly the same this way. This one, if I multiply this out, same thing. It gives me the sides being the same. And then for this one, if you go through and you start to solve this, what would happen is you would subtract 2x from each side, but you'd end up with a situation where, like if I subtract 2x and subtract 2x, then both the x's cancel and I get 1 equals negative 7. And since this is not true, that means this has no solution, because these two sides have the same amount of x's, but different numbers. Whereas these have the same amount of x's with the same number. So if they're both the same, then this is infinite solutions. If these are both different, the numbers are different, but the x's are the same, then it's no solution. And so if it's asking for which one has one solution, it's this one. This one is the one that has a different amount of x's. So if it has one solution, it has a different amount on each side. So it would be A. All right, 4 lines are shown in the graph below. Which one has the greatest slope? So basically, you're looking for the most positive tilt, the one that's tilted up the most. If you're looking at A is going down. Ooh, yeah, I guess I mean that. D doesn't have a slope. So slope D is undefined because it's a vertical line. We could figure out the slope of each one. So let's do that. So for C, if I'm just looking for points on C, where it goes through exactly, you have to be kind of careful on this one. Looks like, I almost want to say it doesn't go through on that point exactly. Well, maybe we can't figure out the slope if it's not set up to be perfectly exact. But I will say, if you're looking at C and B, you can definitely tell C has a greater slope, right? Because it's more tilted, it's like more upright. So I definitely know it's not B. And then I'm guessing that they mean since this is A negative, it's going to be less, right? It's not, they're not asking for the absolute values. So I'd say A, no, because it's negative. So this is a negative slope. B is less tilted. and D is undefined, which means that it would have to be C. Has the most positive tilt. Okay, here's a ramp. They're asking for the slope, so kind of similar to the one where we had the triangles before. But remember, change in y over change in x, so rise over run. So the rise here is 3, and the run is 9, which this can be reduced, right, to 1 over 3. So basically you're saying it's going up 1 foot for every 3 feet that it moves over. So it goes up 1 for every 3 that it moves that way. All right, which equation has a solution of 5? So it gives you different equations to solve. So unfortunately, they're so small, it's hard to see, but we could go through and solve them. So I'm going to subtract the number that's farther away first. So if I multiply both sides by 4, this is definitely not 5, right? So I can just kind of eliminate that. 5x plus 5 equals 25. So if I subtract 5, I get x equals 4. So that's not right. So A and B so far aren't right. How about 3a minus 6 equals 21? So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And then a equals 9. So none of these are 5. So I'm going to guess that it's D. And D is 9n minus 11 equals 30. So if I add 11 to both sides, ooh, 9. 9 times n equals 45, which means n would have to be 5. Confirmed. Same thing for part 10 or number 10, except that this time you're just solving it and matching it to the answer. You're not matching the answer to the solution. So 2 times the quantity x minus 4 plus 3x equals 7. So the first thing I have to do is I need to get rid of this parentheses by multiplying. Distributive property. And then I'm going to combine like terms. So 2x plus 3x, 5x minus 8 equals 7. And then if I add 8 to both sides, so I get x equals 3. 5 times 3 equals 15. Same kind of idea here. But I did want to point out that if you have the solutions, then you know that if you plug them into this, that it has to give you the right answer. So that's another way you could go through this is you could just take these answers and plug them in here and see which one works. So this would be -2 times 3 plus 2 divided by 3. So you're seeing, is that -4? So that would be -6 plus 2. So -6 plus 2 would be -4 over 3. So that doesn't work. If I do -2 times 5 plus 2 divided by 3, so that's -10 plus 2, which is 8 divided by 3. So that doesn't work. -2 times 7 plus 2 divided by 3. So -14 plus 2 is -12. And then -12 divided by 3 is -4. So if I simplify this, it equals -4, which is what it's supposed to equal. So that means that when I plug in the 7 here, that's what gives me the right answer. I don't even have to check this, although I could check it if I wanted to, just to convince myself I guess. All right. This one is asking to compare the rate of change, the slope, basically. You're comparing slope. So this says h of x equals -2x plus 8. Just so you know, that means the same thing as y. So you can just kind of look at it like h of x means y equals -2x plus 8. So right away, I can see this is the slope for this function because it's the number that's in front of x. So -2. That's easy enough. So now I need to look at the picture and figure it out. So I just have to go through, mark off those points, and figure it out. So if I'm going down 4 blocks and then over 2, So the slope for this one is -4/2, which reduces to -2. So you'll notice this was -2 and this was -2. So this is equal. The rates of changes are equal. Okay, which graph represents this? So f of x equals 6 minus 2x. So just like this, remember the number in front of x is slope. So this has a slope of -2. So I can tell already it's not going to be this graph, right? Because this has a positive slope. So it can't be A because it's going to be a -2. All right, the next page has the rest of them. Hopefully you can tell this is not a straight line. So this is definitely not it. Neither is that one. So it means it has to be this. And I can double check, right? Because it also, I know it starts at +6, which this one does. And that means it should go down to over 1, which it does. So definitely B. All right. The speed of a car is changing according to this equation, where x is the time in seconds and y is the speed in miles per hour. What is true about this equation? So this is set up the same way we've been talking about it. This is called slope-intercept form, where you have this number in front of a regular x and then a number that's here by itself. So I definitely know this is a straight line because it fits that y equals mx plus b idea. So when it says it's not a straight line, that's not true. Same thing there. And then it says it's a linear equation and it's a straight line, or it's not a linear equation, it's straight line. Hopefully you know linear means straight, so it has to be A. All right, this one's asking which one is not linear. And so the problem with this one is B, x is in the denominator. So this is not going to create a straight line. It's going to create something different. Okay, 2 minus 6x equals 2a times x plus 1. So it's asking for creating an equation that's going to have infinitely many solutions. So you need to have the same amount of x's and same amount of regular numbers. Basically, everything needs to be the same if it's going to be infinitely many solutions. So this is kind of relying on the idea that you understand how distributive property works. I basically want this to equal this, but I need to make sure this is written the right way. So I'm going to switch these around. This is -6x plus 2. So what do I need to multiply this by 2 times what here to make it a -6, basically? And so hopefully you can tell that if I did 2 times -3x plus 1, right? 2 times -3 is what's going to give me that -6. And then 2 times 1 is going to give me the 2. So A would have to be -3. All right, which of the equations has one solution? So again, if it has infinite, same on both parts. If it's none, no solution, it's going to have same x's, different numbers. And then if it has one solution, it'll have a different amount of x's. So if I'm looking through the ones that they gave me, again, it relies on the idea of distributive property, but this ends up being 6x minus 12 equals 6x minus 3. The second one is 2x minus 6 equals 2x minus 6. And then the bottom one, 3x minus 6 equals x minus 6. So the one that has a different amount of x's is what I'm looking for one solution. And hopefully you can tell 6x, 6x, 2x, 2x. This is the one, 3x and 1x here, where it's going to have just one solution. It's only equation 3. This would have no solution because it has different amounts of numbers. And this one has infinite solutions, identical. Okay, which one has one solution? So again, I'm looking through to see which one has different amounts of x's. So A is 6 minus 2x equals 4x. B is 6 6x minus 2x equals 4x, which if I simplify that, it's really 4x equals 4x. So these are the same. C, 4x equals 2 times 2x minus 3, which again, if I simplify, if I multiply that out, I have 4x minus 6. So again, same amount. And then D, 4x equals 2 times 3x minus x. So 4x equals 2, and then 3x minus x is just 2x, right? So all of these have the same amount of x's except for A. So it means B, C, and D don't work. So I'm looking for one with a different amount. All right, we're looking for the rate, right? So rate, that rate of change or whatever is basically the same idea as slope. So I'm checking for the change in y over the change in x. And so if I'm looking, I have a point here, here, and here. So let's go from 0 up to 20 hours of work. So it goes from 0 to 180 for my y, right? So that's 180 over here, and that's in dollars. And then 20 hours. So if I reduce this, I get $9 every 1 hour. Okay, which one has no solutions? So if I go back to this idea, no solutions means it needs to have the same amount of x's, but different numbers with them. So I just need to go through and simplify these. So 3 plus 6x equals 6x plus 3. So this is infinite. This one is 3 minus 6x equals 6x plus 1. So that's a positive 6 and that's a negative. So this is going to have one solution because those are different amounts, even though they have the same number, different signs. 3 minus 6x equals 6x plus 3. So again, different amounts of x's. So it's going to have one solution. So it should be this one. 3 plus 6x equals 6x plus 1. So there it is, right? Same amount of x's, different amount of numbers. All right. For the next three, I just wanted to point out really this one line. Because sometimes when you're solving and it has infinite or whatever solutions, it's hard to know, but it depends on what's at the bottom. So at the bottom of this one, it says 0 equals x. So that means it has one solution and the solution is 0. If you were to solve and you ended up with something that was like this, 5 equals 1, which is not true, that means there is no solution because it's not true. And then for 23, if you ended up with something like 1 equals 1, something that is true, but again, there's no x's left, right? That's the issue here, is that x dropped out, whereas x here is 0. These one has no x. So this one has no solution, but this one has infinitely many solutions if it's true. So if it's false, no solution. If it's true, one solution. Okay, 24. 2.5x equals negative 10. So I need to divide each side by 2.5. And I also want to for you to keep in mind, you do have access to a calculator for the 8th grade test. Hold on. Which, if you're practicing at home, I suggest you use Desmos, because Desmos is the same calculator that you have in your test. So if you go to desmos.com and click graphing calculator, then it does let you graph, but it also lets you negative 10 divided by 2.5. So it also will do math problems for you too. So negative 4. Just reminding you. Okay, similar triangles. So they're not congruent, they're similar. And they have a ratio based on that rise over run. So let's look at that for these. So this one goes over 3 up 2. This one goes over 6 up 4. So rise over run, right? So that would be 2 over 3, which is the same as 4 over 6. All right, Deshaun is a plumber who charges $40 per hour of work, and then another plumber charges this much, Silvio. Which statement is true? And it has you comparing them, but Deshaun is $40 an hour, and then Silvio is the amount that's in front of H. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. So if you're looking at this is the rate, the slope, and it means that Silvio charges $20 an hour. So Deshaun is less expensive, not true. Deshaun is more expensive. If the job takes 30, and then you also have to count out how much it costs here for the starting amount. So basically, I see. So Silvio charges $60, but then $20 an hour after that. So for a 3-hour job, he charged 60 plus another 60, right? So 120. Whereas his would only be his would also be 120 for three times 4. So that makes sense. So Deshaun is more expensive than Silvio if it takes less than 3 hours, or he's less expensive than Silvio if it takes more than less than 3. So it makes sense here that Deshaun would be less expensive than Silvio if it's less than 3 hours, right? Because if it's only 1 hour, Deshaun's only going to charge $40, whereas Silvio's going to charge 60 plus 20. And that's going to keep happening until they hit 3 hours. Okay. All right, so this one, the equation is P equals 300 plus 35H, and they're asking which table goes with that. So you could just go in, if you know you're filling in for each one, those 10, 20, 30, 40, you could fill those in and see. That's really what it's asking you to match, right? So just even if I check these first two, that's going to be enough information. So this will be 300 plus 350, so that's 650. And then this would be 300 plus 700. So that would be 1,000. So if I'm looking through, I can see that it would be the right answer. Right, 650 and 1,000. All right, almost done. Which one is not a function? So I'm looking for repeated x's. And so this one is A, B, A, C, which right away I can see the A and the A, right? Goes to X and W, so I know it's this. All right, John decides to save money to buy an electronic game. He already has $55 saved. He gets an allowance of $4 a week. Which equation defines a function that he can use to see how many weeks until he can save up enough? So really, he's starting at $55, right? So he starts out with $55, and then he's going to add a certain amount each week, and it's going to be $4 each week. So really, it's this, right? So he starts with a certain amount, and then it changes by $4 each week. It goes up by $4. So he didn't start with a negative amount. So that didn't make sense. All right, which one could be y equals mx plus b? Hopefully you remember that's a straight line. So b could be 1, right? That's a straight line. And c could be 1, straight line. d could be 1, but not here. So trying to get them so you can see both together. It'd be B, C, and D, but not A here. All right. Hopefully that helps. Good luck.